All right, we're going to open the select board meeting on February 15th at 1:08 p.m. We could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of things there. We have the minutes, but they're not on the schedule.
Okay.
So I think we probably have to put that off. And Chief came in and mentioned that number 14 in Bennington County, what was it? They're not going to be here, the sheriffs? The first part.
The black is okay. He's working with the chief of police in Williamstown on the Bennington County issue.
Okay.
So he will be here.
Okay, so we'll still be discussing that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So first up, we have the Thomas Irwin presentation for support of paint recycling and request for a vote to support resolution. Okay.
Do you have a favorite spot that you'd like me to present? Just stand and present here, is that best?
Yeah,
You can right by the mic, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Do you folks have advanced paperwork so that you have some idea of what I'm going to be sharing, or do you need something along that line?
I think we emailed you all of that. This is just the resolution itself.
Okay.
But if you have the graphic ones, I think is what they would be looking for.
The back of this gives you a list of all the municipalities that have this already.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like another one, Carl?
No, I'm good. I already have a set
Okay.
from the solid waste district meeting.
You folks are welcome to have this, so you can read along and share and whatever. I also have a copy of my comments, so I'll be happy to give you when I finish today. I'm going to make my comments, and then I'll open it up to questions that you might have. Okay?
Excellent.
Good evening, good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Tom Irwin. I live at 54 Central Avenue in Dalton, Massachusetts. I'm a retired engineer and physician who in retirement joined the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee, where I learned of paint stewardship. We were confronted with the solid waste issue you all are facing, and it was a disaster. The prices were going up like crazy, and we needed to do something about it. So that's what sparked my investigation and learning of the paint stewardship program. When I learned the idea, I thought it was perfect. But I wanted to make sure that this wasn't just a crazy idea, so I went to traveled to Vermont, New York, and Connecticut to make sure that the residents and the retailers there were also very comfortable with the program. They were, so I became an advocate for this law in Massachusetts. You may first ask why product stewardship or paint stewardship is even important. And the issue is that there are 6 million tons of trash that are generated in the state of Massachusetts each year, and there's a fixed 3.2 million tons of capacity for incineration. That's going to leave, do the math real quick, about 2.8 million tons. There's only 5 municipal landfills in the state. Quick math tells you it's going to be at least 2.5 million tons of stuff that's got to get hauled out of here, and it goes as far away as Ohio or South Carolina. The cost for this is escalating each year. It's gone up by 30% to 35%, depending on municipality, in the last 5 years, and it's going to continue going up by that rate. And it also has a very ugly carbon footprint. Product stewardship, where the products are actually recycled, is an opportunity to get a handle on this kind of burden. You may then ask, what's paint stewardship? And that is a program where you can take your unwanted paint, return it to a participating retail store or transfer station any day that they're open at no cost. The paint is then collected, hauled to a plant where it's reprocessed, brought up to like new condition, and sold for less than 50% of its original cost. This program has been working well in our neighboring states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, and New York. The consumer's part will be to pay a fee of up to $1 per gallon at time of purchase, or up to something no less than 2 gallons for 5 gallons of paint. And that's the end of their responsibilities. that those monies get used to haul the paint to the reprocessing plant for the reprocessing. There is no profit to be made. So what benefits might Clarksburg see? Well, the first is that it will be a service that the Clarksburg residents are going to value. And this is made clear by noting that up to 60% of the paint that's returned to the Enfield, Connecticut store, I went to the store and actually worked with the management there to determine this, was from Massachusetts residents each week. In addition, at 7 different household hazardous waste days held here in western New England, 735 people I interviewed, and of those, 92% signed petitions to encourage their legislators to become co-sponsors of the bill. So what this suggests is that 92% of the Clarksburg residents with paint in their basements, and likely there are many, would be supporters of this legislation. Second, it's going to present no cost to Clarksburg, and it will actually save on your household hazardous waste day costs. I know you're part of the Northern Berkshire Solid Waste Management District, but your RDP monies will go to other solid waste concerns rather than to get rid of your oil-based paints. It would also decrease a significant toxic waste too often created when oil-based paints are disposed of inappropriately. And finally, it sets the stage for other very important waste streams, mattresses, solar panels, lithium car batteries, and packaging, for those things to be handled in a very similar manner. If this is all good, why hasn't it passed previously in the other previous six sessions of the legislature? And the issue is very simple. There are 6,000 to 7,000 bills that are brought forward each legislative session, and the legislature only has capacity to deal with 4% of them. So what they have to do is prioritize based on savings, which for paint stewardship is only $2 million, which for all of us is big money, but for the state is chump change, and demand. And to date, there have been very few people that are aware of the law. But that's changing, as evidenced by the fact that there's so much in Massachusetts paint that is now showing up on the store desks of all our neighboring states with the law. So what are our next steps? On January 18th, we were fortunate that the Environment and Natural Resources Committee, the first stop for paint stewardship, reviewed the legislation favorably and sent it to the House Ways and Means for its further consideration. This is reason for optimism. However, our work is not done. If we don't demonstrate enough priority based on resolutions coming from municipalities like Clarksburg, this will not be raised as an issue for consideration by the House Ways and Means, and we will once again miss our opportunity. So, since the residents of Clarksburg will appreciate this bill, and since over 90 municipalities support this bill, and since saving our environment demands bills like this, please strongly consider adding Clarksburg's valued supporter resolution to this effort. Thank you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
And so relative to the solid waste district, which I'm one of the commissioners, this should reduce the cost for them because we wouldn't have to be dealing with the paint sheds and the paint collections going forward.
That's correct.
And we don't have a landfill here, Tom, so where would we put?
Don't have to.
How do we get rid of ours? Like, I'm one of those that has a basement full of paint.
Au Bouchon.
Okay.
You bring it down to Au Bouchon. They don't care where you got it. They don't care when you got it. They don't care what state you're from. Just as long as it's liquid, as long as it's the original can with the original label, put it on a counter. They'll say thank you, and out you go.
That easy.
Roger that. You want to test it? Just head on up to the Sherwin-Williams in Bennington. Put it on their counter. They won't, as long as it's liquid, original can, original label, they're not going to say no.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So they're already doing that.
Yeah, in
The
all
states
states
around
with the
us.
law. Yeah. You can do the same thing in New York.
Okay.
So more or less, they just put a tax on new cans being sold to help cover the cost of the recycling of it.
Yep. And they'll hold extra events at no cost. That's Paint Care. They'll hold the events probably. I'm working with Linda Cernick for April of 2025, where we're going to hold a latex day, and for like $1 a can, which is much less than it really costs. But we're going to use some RDP money for that. You guys are going to be able to bring down your cans. Just drop them off. 10 cans, $10. You're out and done. future, and when they hold it, when the law is in place, if we hold one of those days, you just bring your cans down, cost you nothing.
It's any type of paint, oil base or whatever.
It's correct, as long as it's architectural. If you put it on the outside your house, the inside your house, on your floors, your decks, that kind of stuff, they'll take it all.
Sounds like a win-win.
As an engineer, I can tell you, I wasn't going to be getting on board with this thing if I didn't prove to myself 6 ways to the center that this wasn't solid. And I went over there looking for holes. I tried to poke holes in this, and I couldn't poke holes in it. And so I felt it was a pretty safe bet that it was not going to only serve Dalton, was going to serve everybody.
No, I agree. I think everyone kind of needs a service around here. Well,
Yep. And think of it if it applied to your mattresses.
I was thinking of that.
In Connecticut and Rhode Island, they already have the law. They pay $18 a mattress extra when they buy the mattress, and that covers everything. I mean, you got an old one, you just haul it, bring it on, you bring it to Dalton, right? Put it in the trailer, you just get back in your car and drive away, pay nothing. That's where that law will work. This just sets that up. So that in the next session, I'll be back again, asking you guys to help me out with the mattresses. Actually, help me help you, and to pass that next law.
And don't forget 5-cent return on all the water bottles. So we'll need a motion.
Yeah. Yeah. I make a motion to approve Thomas's presentation in support of paint recycling as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
He's gonna wanna take this with him,
Okay.
so,
So don't take it with me.
yeah. No, don't let Jeff keep it. And we'll just make a copy of it.
You folks are welcome to copy my comments if you'd like.
I would.
I'm thinking that, Candy will have mine, I Berkshires for the public also.
That was a great presentation. Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Tom.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Carl. Appreciate your facilitating this kind of mistake.
Not a problem at all, thank you.
And if you folks have any questions in the future, please don't hesitate to call me.
Absolutely.
Glad to answer.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So, let's see. While you're doing the next item, I'm gonna make a copy for us, and I'll get that to Tom.
All right. Next item on the agenda is to appoint Patricia Morrissey to the Historical Commission. We just need to make a motion on that.
She's not here, okay. Yeah, make a motion to appoint Patricia, is it Morrissey? Morrissey to the Historical Commission.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have discuss rolling shelving for the historic record retention.
Okay, so have you guys seen this?
Yes.
So the intent, and I've had a chat with our hardworking individuals in the Historical Commission regarding all of the town records in the back room, going back, some of them to the 1930s and older. And it looks like a debris field, putting it kindly, and organizing it. And we really need some type of a mechanism and or ability to efficiently categorize and store it. And a lot of it is historical in nature. And I will say this, my hat's off to the Historical Commission for the hard work and diligence over the last several years in getting the Historical Commission up and running in a meaningful, productive manner. And so in my discussions with the members, they've indicated an interest in tackling this. So I'm going to look for funding to acquire these. And so I have no idea where we are price-wise yet. I'm obviously, our budget is not going to be able to sustain that. But if you're supportive of that, I will proceed.
So supportive contingent on price and,
And obtaining financing.
you don't know how many we're gonna need? We have,
Actually, we do, what, 8?
I would say
8-ish?
maximum 8. I don't know how wide they are.
Yeah,
I couldn't, on the website, I couldn't find out the dimensions.
so we were figuring about 8, but it could vary a little bit there, but if you guys are okay with that, I think that would be the way to go, so you could get a whole lot of storage in a little bit of an area.
Yeah, and it looks nice and well organized.
Yeah, which is not,
I'm fine with moving forward with investigating, price and
No,
finding a way to
absolutely.
pay for it.
Yeah. I thought I saw dimensions on these.
yeah, on the other one, they did all of the measurements for the room width and length and everything, so that
Okay.
we could do a calculation.
And this goes in the back room there? Is there room for 8?
There would be about 8. I mean, if it's 7, it's 7.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So if you're supportive of
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
then I will work on that also.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay. Tammy, if you want a copy of this after the meeting, that's fine.
All right, next up, cybersecurity grant endorsement.
So I got a grant, and so I'm looking for, and it's part and parcel of the grant that, that you guys are supportive of it.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously, anything for cybersecurity, that protects us.
And so then I will have this paper for you folks to endorse, that will go toward that.
You need this dated, Carl?
Yeah, might as well, today's 15.
Here's for the next step.
I think
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, discuss STAM, which stands for Small Town Administrators of Massachusetts. Legislative priorities.
Okay, so I'm a member of the Small Town Administrators of Massachusetts, and they have committee works really hard. We meet probably quarterly, and chat in between relative to the desires of small communities, and this, to be a small town administrator, you have to be not a city, but a town with a population of 12,000 or less. And so these, after a lot of discussion and looking at how it would make the finances of small towns such as ours be a little bit better than they are, because they're certainly not great, and we're not the only ones, that we've created what we're hoping to lobby the legislature for legislation promoting the agenda of small and rural communities. So like the Chapter 90 formula, which gives us currently about $75,000 per year for road repairs, that be adjusted in favor of rural communities, because currently it's based on road miles and population and employment. And so there's some adjustments that we would like to see with that. So the total funding currently under Chapter 90 is $200 million a year, and then they intermittently, I might add, not consistently, added to it as the finances of the state have dictated. So we're looking to advocate for $330 million in the total program, and this also is for bridges, and they're asking to extend it to water systems also. It's also looking to create a municipal building assistance authority, and clearly many of the buildings in Massachusetts are older, and we're no exception to that rule. And so that would also be looking for state assistance to help the smaller communities be able to maintain their buildings in a manner that is consistent with their mandates. Also, to change the procurement thresholds when we're bidding currently. We have to do good business practices up to $9,999. Then we have to seek written bids from $10,000 to $49,999, and anything over that has to go into the central register and into combis, which is a nightmare unto itself. So they're looking to increase the dollar thresholds for those placements in those tiers of public procurement, and also understanding that as prices post-pandemic have increased incredibly, yeah, it's putting a lot of pressure on procurement, whereby we're doing a lot more in the central register, so that this item would reduce administrative costs for communities, but also increase the thresholds. And not terribly far from that is to improve the prevailing wage laws. So as a municipality, any public contract that we award is subject to prevailing wage, which is all well and good, and I do understand some of the intent of that, but the problem that it does create is that we are part of a standard metropolitan statistical area of Pittsfield. But in many cases, the prevailing wage folks in Boston don't have adequate data for Berkshire County, and so then they tag us into Boston, and so then therefore you get huge hourly rates, $50, $60, $70 an hour for tradesmen. And I'm not saying they're not worth it, but when you can go out on the public market and hire significantly less money, this in turn has an upward pressure on doing anything, whether it's painting or papering or flooring or contracting road services. It drives our cost structure up significantly. Obviously, this next one, we've gone round and round all 22 years. My favorite whipping post is the payment in lieu of taxes. Clearly, Clarksburg is the smallest landmass community in all of Berkshire County. And then to add salt into the wound, the state owns half of our town. And they give us a whole lot of nothing, to the tune of $30,000 a year for half of our town. And so we lose a significant tax base as a result of that, and we should be made whole. There's a newly created Office of Rural Affairs, which I am very impressed with, and it is headed by Ann Goby. And Mallory Sullivan has been added. Now she has an assistant. But we are asking that they staff that Rural Affairs department adequately so that she can address the many, I can't emphasize many enough, issues facing small, rural, modestly funded rural communities. And then the other thing is to reduce the administrative burdens relative to obtaining state grants. A lot of communities do not have a dedicated grant writer, and so there are some certain nuances and quirks in the grant writing system that either brings our applications to a grinding halt or slows them down incredibly, that we're asking that they streamline the system so that communities that do not have a dedicated staff to grant writing, it makes the administrative burden a little bit easier. And that's that in a nutshell. Any questions I can answer?
So some of this is good for
Yeah.
us, some of it isn't. So is it all or nothing, or?
Well, no, I mean, I'm not seeing anything that's not good for us. I took out what wasn't good.
Well, improving the prevailing wage.
So that would be like, for instance, when we have to go out to bid for a roof on the school.
So they tie us in with Boston.
Right, so we want them to loosen that so that we're not tied to that
Okay.
prevailing wage, that it would drive down the cost of labor.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
I
Okay.
guess improve prevailing wages and all.
It's not increasing it, it's to
Right,
bring
yeah.
it more localized, I guess, for lack of
Okay.
clarity on my part, and I apologize.
So do you need our support?
If you could make a motion to support that, yes, that would be wonderful, and then I'll get this off to the powers that be.
All right, make a motion to support the small town administrators of Massachusetts legislative priorities for 2024 as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so we're looking for more payment and pilot taxes?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And we've been hearing this for how long?
I got on the finance committee in, I believe it was January of 2002. So
Okay.
it's been 22 years.
Okay.
And I'd like to see some movement on this finally. I'm like a bad penny, I keep coming back.
Well, that's a tough one to swallow.
Well, it is, and, you know, people want to know why the roads are a series of speed bumps, and our culverts are collapsing, and things of that nature, and the bottom line is it's money, 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 and money. And we have a whole lot of no money.
And we did the math years ago, you and I think it's supposed to be like 200 something thousand.
We're losing $264,000 per year because of the payment in lieu of taxes, and that's in 2014 dollars. So you could do a whole lot with $250,000 more in revenue.
All right.
Where's your?
Didn't want to poke the bear in there, Carl, but I kind of like getting you going once in a while.
Well, you know, I have low blood pressure, and this job has, you know, helped out on that one, I'll tell you right now. Won't have to get that, what is it, that pacemaker, that's what my doctor said. If my blood pressure stays low, I'm gonna have to have a pacemaker. Well, you know what, since I've been back, it's gone up, so,
There you
you
go.
know, I'm good.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Merry Christmas.
All right, next up, ADA grant.
Unfortunately, we applied for the grant, and for engineering of the cross slopes and the approach slopes of all of the buildings, and this was just strictly for engineering. I believe it was for like $32,900 or something to that effect. We did not get it, but I also had a discussion with Ann Goby about how this process works. And so we had to have that grant applied for, I believe it was very early September, late August of last year. And then they said that they would let us know in November, and then in November they said, well, it'll be December, and then in December they said, well, it'll be January, and we found out February 6th that we didn't get it. Understanding that this thing closes, and it would have to be closed out, completed, and all of the bills paid and the reimbursements filed by June 30th. And, all right, for an engineering grant, you know, and it wasn't of huge scope, so we could have probably done that. But hypothetically, what if we had gotten an ADA grant for an elevator or something to that, you know, degree? It would take us 4 months to get the thing bid. And I say that in jest, but not really. And how can you award in February and close out at the end of June, especially if it's a brick and mortar project? How in pray tell do they expect that to happen? It used to be with the mass works that you'd get a year. Now they've extended that to 2, and you can understand why, especially post-COVID. And so I just, this is more informational than anything. So I have extended my concerns with that to the Director of Rural Affairs, Ann Goby. Thank you very much. She's been a godsend. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on the ADA grant. We did not get it, but I'm also looking for them to change how they award it.
All right. Thank you for filling us in on that, Carl. All right. Next up, authorize Police Chief Mike Williams to appoint police officers details for the 2024 calendar year elections as follows. The presidential primary, March 5th, 2024, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The annual town meeting, May 14th, 2024, 12 noon to 7 p.m. The state primary election, September 3rd, 2024, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the state presidential election, November 5th, 2024, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I'm thinking that the annual town meeting should be annual town election.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because the date is not matching up, I think we're on the 29th. So I would submit that as an
So
edit.
annual town,
Election.
yeah, election.
And our town meeting, sometimes it goes pretty long, but not from 12 to 7, so I'm pretty sure
All right,
that's
so we need
the
a
case.
motion to authorize.
Yes, please.
All right.
Make a motion to authorize Police Chief Williams to appoint the police officers for those details mentioned with the annual town meeting being revised to annual town election for May 14th.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
12 is a duplicate.
Say again?
12 is a duplicate of 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, the presentation by Historical Commission regarding Community Preservation Act.
These are just, you don't have to go through those today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
For what we're talking about.
That's why we have the couch here.
I'm gonna be speaking from this kind of
Oh, perfect.
outline if you wanna.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about the Community Preservation Act. Susan Brandon, I'm on the Historical Commission. We have our chair, Jean Muffler up here. We also have Joe Pacheco, who's not with us, and a new member, Pat Morrissey, that you appointed today. Thank you for that. But I also want to mention we're also needed one more member to make a complete 5-member commission. So, as you know, as we've already been talking about our lack of money in town, we have this dental floss budget that Carl likes to use. We've become, as a Historical Commission, aware of the Community Preservation Act for us in the way of raising funds for historic preservation, and but there's also other things that these funds can be used for. In the first section, it allows for protecting open space. Now, when you hear these things, you're going to think of projects that we already have, we're thinking about doing in town. Protecting open space, preserving historic sites, buildings, resources, developing outdoor recreational facilities, building parks, playgrounds, and recreational fields, and creating affordable housing. So, the Community Preservation Act doesn't raise the town's real estate tax. It's a surcharge on monies already being raised on a portion of property tax bills. But not only is this money raised through the surcharge, but the money that we raise as surcharge is matched by the Mass Department of Revenue's yearly distribution from the statewide CPA trust fund, and is generated from real estate transfer fees on property transactions statewide for the year. So approving the CPA in the town of Clarksburg will bring some of those state funds back to Clarksburg. And through approval at the annual town meeting and passage of a ballot question at the voting booth, a surcharge of not more than 3% of the tax levy against real property is adopted by town government. And the monies that are collected from the surcharge stay in our community. We create our own local community preservation fund, overseen by the town accountant and tax collector. And we'll get more and more into the details, but, you know, the CPA funds can also be used as, to buy software for, you know, the town accountant or tax collector to process the surcharge. There are 3 rounds of state funding. 80% of the total revenue of the state trust fund is at the end of October, and they'll be paid out in round 1. And each of the CPA communities, as of now and since November 23, there are 196 communities in the state that have adopted the CPA. So they give out the 80%, and then there's this other 20% that is dispersed in, they have 2 more rounds, second and third rounds, and they're eligible to the towns that have adopted the 3% surcharge. And the 2 and 3, or second and third rounds, are weighted so that smaller and less affluent towns receive higher funding, like Clarksburg. Communities with the lowest equalized property valuations and smallest populations are placed in the most favorable deciles. And Clarksburg is rated at decile 1, which is
Worse.
the worst. It has provided the highest level of funding and very possible a full 100% match. So I give a little and get a lot. This, the town would create a community preservation committee and 5 to 9 board members. They will consult with existing municipal boards, make recommendations on the projects, you know, make applications. They will review them, but these recommendations are brought to town meeting for the town to vote on which projects we want to use our money for. So, looking at the average assessed value of 2023, we said $222,151 is the average value of a property in town. Which is nice about the Community Preservation Act, like as the tax, if you raise the tax, if you do the 2.5 proposition override, you know, everybody's taxes raise here. You can exempt the first $100,000 off of everyone's property, and there's also an exemption, and we suggest using both exemptions. The second one is for low income or low to moderate senior income. So, so using those both exemptions, using the current tax rate of $15.13, the taxable amount used to calculate the surcharge for $222,151, the surcharge would be applied to $122,151 at the $15.13 rate. That would is $1,848.14, and 3% of that would be a surcharge of $55.44
A year.
a year. This is, yeah, for the average assessed value of a home in Clarksburg. So we estimate there are 643 taxable parcels at an average of $55.44 for a surcharge, which comes to $35,647.92 to be matched by the state at possibly 100%. So there are, I did some calculating of what each, if you're not the average homeowner, what does it mean for me? I just made a chart.
I'm just trying to just pull my calculator out and do like higher value ones.
If your home value is $100,000, it will not affect you at all. You pay zero. If your value is $125,000, you would pay the surcharge on the $25,000, which is $11.35 a year. So I went up to $600,000. I don't think there's too many properties above $600,000 in town. But this is just the residential exemption for those who may have, you know, a higher value home, but like a low to moderate income senior or low income household, they can choose to apply for an exemption. for the low income. And they would not pay any surcharge. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. We have a lot of information to support it. And I guess we are hoping that you will support this effort, because without your support, that we're going forward to bring it, to the town meeting or, to a ballot question in November.
So that's what you're looking for, to get this on the warrant for.
Yeah, we do have warrant language. There is this Community Preservation Coalition, and they have lots and lots of help on there, and they provide a lot of information, and I would suggest that you check out their site.
So I guess my first question is, so I know there's a board created, for this. So does that board have to approve any money spent out of that fund? Is that pretty much what the board?
Well, the town will make recommendations. People will come before them and they'll decide among, but, it'll be a committee. The planning board, the conservation committee, the historical commission, like the recreation committee, there'll be across the board members.
Cross-section.
They have a list of who they want on there. And it's Conservation Commission, Historical Commission, Planning Board, Board of Park Commissioners, which would be our recreational committee, Housing Authority, and then at-large positions. But there has to be at least 5 people, and that's where I think we might run into a problem, is getting at least 5 people to be on. But once the committee goes through and selects a project, then it has to go to town meeting for a vote, and then on a ballot, I think, too, for the
I
next,
think just the town meeting.
just the town meeting.
Yeah, I think to pass the act, we have to put it
Vote.
on the ballot.
And one other thing is, they said that at least each year, at least 10% has to be set aside for historic resources, and at least 10% for community housing. And then the first year, up to 5% of the revenues would be for the software and tax billing and everything. Because this would be a separate billing from the taxes. It'd be a one-time a year thing. And we went through in Great Barrington and, excuse me. There was, some other projects that have been done in other municipalities in Williamstown. I'm sorry. Okay. This was Great Barrington. Town Hall, design plans for eaves repairs. A roof and a cupola for the Mason Library restoration. Roof replacement for St. James Place, affordable housing, trails at Monument Mountain, open space at a riverfront, Historical Commission resources survey, creation of trails, restoration of a church building. So they put in some money towards, and the church had to put in some.
How old does a building have to be in order to qualify as historical?
When we were looking into demolition delay, most of the towns had 50 years
Yep.
as historical. We've got some that are over 100 here.
I think the only building that's not ancient is the senior center, the community center,
Yeah.
and that's 25.
But with gaining these other funds,
Yeah,
we can use it as leverage towards grants, because many of the grants,
Right.
we have to put up our own money. So
Matching
we can
grant.
use
yep.
these funds to leverage other grants, because, that's pretty much how we're getting things done. Well, flooding helped us a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In upgrading our town hall, but we don't want to rely on that.
But
It
there's,
was very painful.
Yeah.
Yes.
the Beckett Athenaeum floor refurbishing, Revolutionary and Civil War Monument, Center Lake Weed Project, Mullen House restoration, signage for historical signs.
It's like the road
Somewhere.
shopping could possibly be fall under
Yes,
something
Oh,
like
there's
this
all
because it's
kinds of
for,
stuff.
Protection
Protection.
of historical documents.
Pickleball court is one of the ones that I came across.
Digitizing historic documents, preserving historic documents, that, all that falls under historic preservation.
And the beauty of it is that 50% of it is, I mean, you're getting 100% of your return, because 50% of it is coming from the state.
And
So
where do you
you
get
don't have to
that?
spend it all the first year, you know, it can build up.
that was one of my questions, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other
it can
thing
build
is
up.
too, is that people are paying the tax when they buy at the registry anyway. This is getting that money back into Clarksburg. Because if we don't, then that money's gonna be funding CPA somewhere in another community.
The other 196.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, a lot of questions that you have are in the paperwork that I gave you. I know it's a lot, because it's been a lot for us, but, you know, we think it's a win-win situation, revitalizing the town with some of this, and it's affordable for the average and homeowner, but it's not just residential, they, commercial and industrial also are hit with a surcharge, if hit with is the rate.
Might scare people.
Yeah.
So this is not on your real estate tax bill, this is a
Right.
a separate bill
Yes.
that each
So it's a-
household gets,
Separate from the 2.5.
once a year.
Yep.
But it's put on the tax bill now.
Yeah, surcharges can be added on the same bill.
But we bill quarterly. So, and the first year, they do allow up to 5% to get the software for the billing for this. So,
Okay,
I would think that it would be a separate, like your
Okay.
excise.
Yeah,
Excess
right.
tax.
I guess my other, seeing that separate from like the real estate, like how would this be, when if someone just doesn't pay it, crumbles it up and throws it away, like I'm not paying this
Well,
surcharge, I guess, like.
They'll say that they'll charge interest on that.
Yeah,
it's probably similar to your, if you do that with any other bill.
But I don't know what the punishment would be for somebody not paying.
Yeah,
exactly, like I know if it's not, real estate, like, if it's on a real estate bill, I guess that's one way it's kind of controlled because eventually you get that money,
Yeah.
but that's just one of my, wonders on that, how that's
Yeah,
handled.
well, I wonder how it would be added to the, unless like you took the $55 and divided it by 4, you had 4 payments.
It's
Then
only,
it would be,
it's not gonna be $55, I mean,
no,
only for a
that's
small.
just
Right.
what, the number we use.
Right.
And it can start at 1% or 1.5%.
Or up to 3%, it can be
Yeah.
anything less than that,
We
but
don't
with
want
the
to even
3%,
suggest,
that's weighted towards poor towns
we
like
don't even want to
ours.
suggest the one, we want to start with the
Right.
3%
So,
because
okay.
the town needs
Get
the
the
money
most
and
match,
it is affordable.
yeah.
It's better than raising the taxes.
Also, at town meeting, is it after 5 years? At town meeting, it can be brought up again for another vote to either lower the surcharge or abolish it.
I think you can change it at any town meeting,
Okay.
vote to change it. If you
These are
want
some
to.
things that, we're really not sure of. Some of the language is written by lawyers.
We gave you the text of the bill
Yeah.
in the handout. We did weed through it a bit.
Well, the motion here is to proceed or not to proceed. We can't not proceed because this involves the residents of Clarksburg, so we can't make that decision. And we'd have to vote to proceed to get that on the warrant.
Right.
But will you ladies be able to explain this at town meeting? Because I know I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot here. Because the only thing, I think Dan hit it right on the head, it's like if it's a separate bill, how do you enforce that? And
We can have town council review that and give us the answers to the
Yeah.
questions we have. So I guess what they're looking
What we're
for
asking for is for you
is our vote to put it on the
Yeah.
warrant.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
go forward with it.
Yeah,
Do you want
it sounds like a great
and-
idea, yeah.
In the package that I gave you, there's a wording for the warrant, there's a wording for a bylaw, because there's gonna be a bylaw too,
Ballot language,
yeah.
bylaw for the committee.
You guys really did your homework, huh?
And
Wow,
there's so much more out there on this,
yeah,
But there's a lot of help out there
yeah.
in the coalition.
that's
And one
very
thing I
interesting.
thought was maybe find out who's on the commission for Williamstown.
Yeah.
And maybe they could come to the meeting and say what they've done with their funds.
So I'm sure we could reach out to another, if this
We got
moves
some
forward,
time.
we could reach out to another one of the towns and see how they're handling their, billing on that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
For something like this.
Definitely.
Are you looking for members now, or are you proceeding to?
Well,
Well, the
We gotta
number,
have it
yeah,
balanced.
Well, I mean, yeah, I
I
mean,
think we would have to have some members named by the town meeting. Isn't that how that's how I understood
okay,
it?
I didn't see that part.
So, yeah, we would be looking for 5 people anyway.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not opposed to this going on the, warrant,
Warrant.
just to put it to the town residents and vote on it.
Absolutely, that's,
Really be, especially that we get 3% match from the state, so I mean, if
Right.
we put in, ballpark 35,000, we're getting 35,000 back,
yeah, like I said, it's a win-win.
So over a couple of years, it builds up, we could definitely do some
Some stuff.
projects with this.
Right. And it goes on the town meeting, and then it has to be a ballot at the next
State or municipal or
Muni-
or state
municipal or
election.
state election, which would be this year.
Yeah,
So we could get it approved this year.
and actually the first quarter starts in, February? Is it
Yeah,
February
yeah.
or November? I think it's February is the first
That'd be
quarter.
good, yeah. But, it's tough adding more money to people's, bills.
Well,
We've
You're
run into that
eliminating the
before.
low income,
Yeah, that's
So-
true.
and then
The first
that $100,000 exemption, that's part of what they would be voting on too. You have to put the exemptions on as part of the,
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
the explanation is so important.
Right,
right.
because we don't want it to be burdensome, but,
Right.
And hopefully we could do flyers and things between now and then, get them out to everyone.
yeah, we want big support. And
They do have information on, they've got so much information on their website, but they have different banners that they suggest using, putting around town.
Yeah. Well, that's
We had
interesting.
informational meetings with the town too, before.
that would be.
Oh, yeah, that would be,
Yeah.
Most
that would be
helpful.
very helpful, yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. So what we need to do is make a motion to proceed.
Put a place on the warrant.
And where are we here?
Thank you for that presentation.
Yeah, that was
Doing the
very,
research on
really
this.
interesting.
I think we're number 10.
Okay, I make a motion to proceed with the Historical Commission's Community Preservation Act as presented to us, and to allow this to be put on the warrant for town meeting.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, thank you. That was very interesting.
And you will let us know, well, we'll have that warrant language to you well in advance, but it's nice to know what the deadline is.
It's in your packet.
I'll be through all this by the town meeting.
And there'll be another pile right behind it.
So this next one on the agenda, the presentation by the Agricultural Commission, actually, she just reached out to me a little while ago, Martha did, and they were not made aware of this being on the agenda for today,
Okay,
so they asked if this could get pushed to the next
it can,
meeting, so.
absolutely.
We'll do that, and then, just gonna touch base with her and let her know what that next one is. Alright, number 12 is a duplicate of the
Yeah, pretty
small
much.
town administrators. All right, next up, we need to review
Used car dealer.
and or approve the used car dealer license for T. Rotolo.
So he's been there for years and we haven't had any issues.
No complaints.
Yeah, so
So
it's
this is just a
routine.
basic
nice
signature.
work.
I'm good with that. So do we need to make a motion for this, or do we? Make a motion to approve the used car dealer license for T. Rotolo.
Second,
All in favor?
I
So what's entailed in this here, Carl? Do we need to sign?
signed the license, I think.
Yeah, I've been signing the license.
Make sure I'm signing this in the right spot. I'm zooming down here.
I would think so.
I mean,
Yeah, Carl, check, but I think that's right where we go.
Right down here.
Yes.
These lines.
Trying to print it out.
Thank you.
thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nice job.
Thank you. Alright, so next up, we have view and or approve mutual aid agreements with BLEC and Bennington County Sheriff's Department,
So BLEC is Berkshire Law Enforcement Council,
Berkshire Law Enforcement Council.
and I think that Mike is pulling the Berkshire, or the Bennington County one. So we're just gonna be addressing Black right now.
Right. Okay.
Okay, the Berkshire County Mutual Aid Agreements, same agreement we've had for years since it
Yeah.
got developed. The only amendment that was added into this agreement was they are gonna establish what they call a FIT task force. It's a use of force task force through the Berkshire Law Enforcement Council, which chiefs can turn to if they have a use of force. They don't have to use it, but if they do have a use of force issue that they want investigated, they can go to the Law Enforcement Council, and they will send officers in to do that inquiry and investigation. Everything else is pretty much the same. It's countywide, so it's with every department that's on this agreement that they can assist us and we can assist them. So it's basically the same agreement we've had for
Hmm.
the last few years.
So everything's working well, so no reason to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, this is, gives us when North Adams comes up to assist us
Mhm.
and even the sheriff's department's on that.
Okay, so all we need is a motion to approve.
Yes, approve, and I believe you can use one of them, they got a signatory on the back, I got the signatory. I just need it filled and signed, so I can, at some point, so I can send that back to the Berkshire Law Enforcement Committee, and it'll get put in with all the other signed papers that we agree upon mutually.
Alright.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, or you good with that, Jeff?
I don't think so. It's pretty much what we've been doing. It's for a while now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot when the date was that it was first established.
Probably 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Better.
I think it's been about that long.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the mutual aid agreement with Berkshire County Law Enforcement Council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So it looks like you just need one signature on this from non-official or? not?
Yeah, it could be either, I guess it doesn't
can sign it as
specify whether
acting
chair or any
He's
selectman.
acting
You
chair,
both
so
could sign it if you wanted.
just to dot your I and cross your T.
Yeah.
You know, with all the paper we go through, why did the paper mills close?
I don't know, I've always got it stacked.
I thought that, computers were gonna make us a paperless society, but it seems like the volumes just get more and more. Just a comment.
Here you go, chief.
Okay, thank you very
No
much.
problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Just gonna warrants to approve. You can sign after we wrap
Yeah,
up.
yeah, absolutely.
Any public comments or questions on anything? Are we good?
We're good.
All right. I'll close the select board meeting at 2:09 PM.